Welcome to Incredibelle Conversations. We are on season 3. Oh my gosh, it's crazy. Everyone stand up and do a little dance because this is just great. I am just so ecstatic. Today we have our very first conversation with not a female. And that is exciting because I've not had a male on the show before. So that in itself is a nice big step in the right direction for me. And we are also diving into the show a little differently. So, what Incredible Conversations is trying to be about is your dedicated conversation to increase your conscious awareness of how the alignment of your body, mind, and soul can empower your longevity in life, love, career, and health. I think that sounds pretty freaking fantastic because we could all use a little more alignment in our lives. And talking about alignment right now in our world, maybe some of you are feeling a little stressed out. Maybe you're feeling super ready to go. Maybe you're in the right direction. You're starting a new project. You're getting really amped up. Whatever it is, in every area of our lives, we can experience some stress. And so for today's show, to help everyone out in this time when we're starting to dive into the beginning of our year, we are going to be talking about developing resilience against stress. And with my guest today, a holistic health fanatic, educator, coach, and little biohack and hippie, I'd like to welcome on Mr. Christian VanCamp with CVC Wellness and have him help enlighten this topic with me because we need more health and love in this world. So, without further ado, how are you doing today, Christian?
Well, Belle, what a fabulastic intro. I really appreciate that. I'm doing super amazing. I'm just chugging through the morning right now. It's about, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I haven't crashed yet. That's the best part. Most of us are crashed around 3, and some of those days it can just hit you like a big old rock. And so right now, just cruising along. How about you, Isabelle?
I love that. First of all, I want to hear how you are avoiding your crash. And, I'm doing well. For everyone out there, I am actually undergoing my first 24-hour fast. I feel the sleep just pulling my eyelids down because I have not had caffeine. And if you know me well, I am a little bit of a caffeine addict. I can drink up to, a coffee press or two a day, which is not advised and not good. I blame my background in the barista world. However, that is coming to a change. Today I'm drinking some non-caffeinated Rubius tea. It's delicious, but I'm definitely feeling the drag. So I'd love to hear how you're staying amped up and not crashing.
Regardless of all the coffee you've drank, and like your adrenals still love you. Okay, Belle, just keep that straight. But you know what? This morning and every morning, I like to just start my day taking a cold shower. That's one of my favorite ways to kind of wake up, get every cell in my body just, quivering and shaking and energized, and just getting it on every single part of my body, under the armpits, on the neck, and just really trying to calm that breath, incorporating maybe some Wim Hof breath or Tuma breath. That's really powerful. Just that real deep kind of like forced, almost like anxiety attack where you're just like, that kind of stuff, hyperventilating in a sense. Yeah, once I do that, kind of do some movements, some bioenergetics. Then afterwards, I'll throw in a big old glass of water with some good quality salt, get my body hydrated and awake before I hit the cup of joe. Because if you hit the cup of joe right away in the morning, your cortisol is all kind of wacky, and it's just like, what are you doing? Stop it. Your body's trying to go through this hormonal awakening response, and your natural cortisol wakes you up in the morning. So when you just load up on that caffeine right away, it can just overdrive it. And so that has helped me a ton, kind of prevent that, just crash in the afternoon. And, shortly after, I'll throw in a good elixir of just like greens, spirulina, some chlorella, some collagen, some turmeric root with some black pepper, just stuff that is very healing. Because I strongly believe that first thing in the morning, your gut is in such a hyper absorbent state. And so when you can just load up on all these nutrients, all these goodies, these gut healing, brain promoting things first thing in the morning, then you're going to have a much better day later on. And it's just going to carry along with you. You'll have a great mood. You'll be burning more fat and just feeling like a kick-ass human being. We all need to feel. So yeah, there's a little rundown of my morning routine. And, even right now, just had a cup of Joe about an hour ago. And so stack that with some L-theanine, a bunch of crazy, there's my biohacking hippie side coming out right there. But yeah, it's just I think if we really put that focus on taking a slow morning routine, it can really help out and benefit us later on throughout the day.
That sounds delicious and much healthier than what I've been experiencing myself. So thank you for sharing that. And oh man, when did you start incorporating that kind of ritual to your day? Like, when was that switch for you? Like, I need to make this switch.
Oh man, that is a wonderful question. Whenever people ask me stuff about health and how it all began, I have so many different kind of factors that just came in. It's multifactorial for sure. It's not like just this one thing was a huge inspiration. I'd say for the most part, I just eventually just got really obsessed with listening to podcasts. Podcasts, everything revolving around health and wellness, nutrition, fitness, human health optimization, those kind of things, from big names like Ben Greenfield to Aubrey Marcus to like Joe Rogan had some guys on his podcast I listened to that, it just introduced me to their world and it just kept expanding. And so these little guys I listened to all the time, every single day for many years, became my subconscious in a sense. They became my a speaker in my background in my everyday life that was like, okay, are you really going to reach for that candy bar? When I was like 19, and it's like, no, I just listened to that podcast on it. It was like this like higher level thinking. I wasn't necessarily me, but it became me. And it's really interesting. But, I'd say those influences like on podcasts, following a bunch of cool guys on Instagram and social media, and even beyond that kind of realm, just I think a lot of inspiration in my personal life from meeting people in my anatomy and physiology class in community college. There's some people that were kind of health geeks that really kind of tapered this kind of lifestyle into me. And just blessed, super blessed, Belle, to have people in my life that have really kind of shunned aside kind of toxic rituals in their life. Drinking, I eventually started leaving my friend groups that were drinking heavily and smoking a lot of weed. And granted, I love smoking weed here and there. It's totally fine. It's good to relieve the stress, which we'll talk about later. But, there's just things in my life that very blessed to just have them really build me as a person. And it's all over the place, of course,
Mhm. That's awesome. I love to always witness how someone, feels that drive, that pull, that pulse of like, okay, there's something different. There's something that I can do that holds more value. Like, is my life worth the value of drinking atrocious amounts to feel like balls the next day, to not get much done, to then do it again and again and again just to have, maybe a hierarchy in your friend group, or to feel a part of a team in a sense, or to just have that a union? Or could you, hold truth to your value, have some non-negotiables, and you'll find those people who care about the same stuff you care about. They'll love the health. They'll love to get amped up for the gym. They'll love to not just destroy the body with a great workout, but recover the body with an even greater rest and relax mode where you're filling yourself up with different nutrients and proteins and just infrared saunas and the different fun things that you get to do to maintain your body. Because, we do have our bodies as a temple, the mind as a treasure. And when we can rewire the mind, then our bodies are these vessels that are incredibly useful to lead us exactly where we want to go. But it's all about starting with our brains and going, hey, I can make this conscious choice. So let's get to it. And before we get into really diving into like the rewiring of the brain and our neuroplasticity, I would love to ask just like 5 random questions that are here to just kind of spice up the episode, just be a little fun, and just so everyone can learn a little bit more about you.
Throw them at me. I love random. I love chaos.
Awesome. So these are just super cheesy, super simple. And so the first question is, do you rather snow or sun?
Oh, sun, absolutely. Absolutely. I think there's something special about that vitamin D, you know.
Mhm. And then spicy food or sweet food?
Probably spicy, actually, just because I eat so many random cuisines, you know. You can't really have sweet as much with that.
All right. And then question 3, live music or car jam outs?
Live music all the way, baby.
Mountains or oceans?
Oh my gosh, I hate this question. I've gotten this so many times in my life. I cannot answer it. Why can't I have both? Why can't I live in like Hawaii with the mountains and the oceans are like 10 feet away? Okay, if I gotta choose, I'll probably say mountains. Yeah, for sure.
Excellent. And the biggest, hardest question of them all. Are you a dog or a cat person?
You know, I've grown up with cats all my life in an equal proportion of dogs. So it's really hard for me to say because it's almost like the yin and yang. You got to have that chill, elegant cat come out of nowhere and just rub against you and put its butt in your face. And then you got to have that energetic dog every time you walk in your house. It's like, so the energy is something I'm clinging to. So I'll probably go with the dog.
Excellent. I love it. Those are fun. I think it's just great to ask random questions just to get any jitters out of the way.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Oh, and man, for everyone listening, I have to say that real quick, how the heck I came into alignment with Christian in the first place was through a mutual friend via Instagram. And I really want to just declare how in our day and age, how incredible or incredibelle, if I may say, it is to meet people who live thousands of miles away and connect because of similar interests, because of a similar message, of having just something that resonates with you both, where you're just passionate and you just want to share the love of life through words and human connection, especially under this weird time of quarantining and not having that tribal communion. So, if you're out there and you're like thinking social media is kind of out there as this bad guy, then maybe it's just your mindset. Maybe you could see it as a way to connect with people who love what you love. And that's what I hope you guys can get out of this today is just a new voice and a new set of knowledge base for the show. And for us to dive in, I would love for you to begin to tell us, your story on your fitness journey, what like really led you here, what really snowballed you, and like get us with those heartstrings. Give us some good tales on why you're here and why you're doing it, and how we can see stress as a way to move forward in a positive way in our life and become resilient versus be victims of this very intense, very reactive stress and response way of being.
Wow. Okay. So my journey, well, there's many inspirations I've had, but I'll start off with the most personal. And my little sister, Nina, was born with this congenital heart defect. So congenital means like you're kind of born with it. And it's called hypoplastic left heart syndrome. And it's a mouthful, but it's very, very not common. Like only 1% of babies born each year in the US have this kind of unique characteristic. And so it basically is kind of like a 2-chambered heart. And as you may know, like we all have 4 chambers in our heart. We have our atrium and then we have our ventricles. And so it is very unique how somehow, some way, God just designed Nina to have this unique heart and like no other really. And so it was also covered in all these tiny obstructive kind of really just, issued holes. And so, it's in 2014, she ended up having a heart transplant because it just led up into this. Basically, she just had to get into the hospital in December 24th, excuse me. And that was like Christmas Eve, as you know. And so just all this playing out during the holiday season, you're supposed to have all this joyous time. You're supposed to be all uplifted. And immediately she had like pneumonia and all these health complications emerging. And her heart was not functioning right. Her whole life, she literally was going in and out of the hospital month after month, kind of dealing with, just surgeries and consistent issues with, blood flow. And, I just remember as a young kid, we'd be in Tennessee, kind of in the Smoky Mountains and stuff. And we'd be in the pool and it'd be summertime and the water would be warm. And, after about 20 minutes in there, my little sister, Nina would start having these purple lips, these very purple lips. And that just was showing that her heart wasn't pumping enough blood throughout her body to help her out and oxygenating her cells. And so my mom would always be like, "Oh, get out of the water, Nina. It's, you need to bundle up and get warm." And it was just something I didn't really acknowledge too deeply, but because we were so young, I was like 12 and she was like 10. And so, throughout her whole life dealing with these health complications, eventually in 2014, during that Christmas time, she was administered in the hospital. And for 3 long, grueling months, sitting on a hospital bed, she eventually was told by, the doctors, and doctors told her family, you're going to have to get a new heart, Nina, or, it's going to go downhill from here. And so, it was a blessing from God, but within like a week or so, there was some guy across the nation that got in this like motorcycle wreck, and he was a young guy, and he happened to have a really strong heart with her blood type. And before you know it, she's just walking around with a just strong, vibrant heart. And today she's doing so wonderful. She is just in a really good health. And just knowing that someone is able to donate their organ and pass that on to someone else in this day and age, being able to have that opportunity to keep that life going on after your passing and your vessel's done with this planet, it is just the most magnificent thing to me. And so if you're out there, donate life for sure. If you're, donate your organs if you pass away. Don't get burned up and incinerated and turned to ashes and being put in your living room on a vase, because it is, that's beautiful and all, but it's not the impact you could really make on this world. But so one thing, I was really young, this is 2014. So this is quite a while ago. And I saw her in the hospital bed after getting this heart transplant. And literally the sickness in healthcare and hospitals and the food industry tied with all that is so mind boggling to me. And at that age, I was seeing her being fed, canned green beans. I was seeing her being fed, muffins, a lack of protein rich foods. You should be getting fed grass-fed meats. You should be getting fed just nutrient-dense foods, greens, all the things we know that are healthy. And seeing that as a kid, like, okay, hold on, what's up? She's being fed like Diet Coke and things that just like, what? This is the food industry working its way into healthcare. And so I'm like, where is the preventative care? And Belle and I tapped into this earlier before the podcast began, and just talking about preventative care and how the importance of it and how it's emerging in this day and age, and how we're realizing that our money does not need to be going towards healthcare. We spend billions and billions of dollars every year on healthcare, and yet we're the sickest country in the world. That blows my mind. And so that really inspired me as a child. That was like one of the biggest, broadest things that empowered me to be like, I got to change the system from the inside out. I can't just be working outside in. I got to be going into this and influencing and letting people know how important it is to prevent your health before it gets to you and catches up on you. And so I'd say that was one of the biggest things that happened to me, is my little sister's story, Nina. And, there's a bunch of other things in life that inspired me. My older sister, Courtney, was in the Marines. She dealt with a bunch of complications and, being on opiates after she was blown off a 40-foot wall from a grenade in the Marines and being deployed back in the US. And just, the system gives you opiates to help out with pain. And many, many people, over 50% of people on opiates, eventually lead to other harder drugs to help with the numbing and the sensation of pain. And so she eventually was on heroin for many, many years. And if you actually want to see a Dr. Phil episode, she was on Dr. Phil with my mom. And that is a very powerful episode, and it blew up. And it's just one of those things, she's doing great now. She's living in Colorado, rest assured. But, these things in my family, close family, have been a really massive influence on me. And, just growing up with many friends in high school, seeing the trauma emerge with them, and their parents passing away, and just, seeing these things, it kind of inspired me into this therapy and coaching-esque kind of route. And that's why I'm really into this health coaching and health promotion and educating. And, going off on a good twist right now, I mean, real positive is, I grew up with sports. I was really big on soccer, baseball, just played a lot of sports all around, ran track in high school. And so that got me into the fitness realm in particular. And, once the kind of sports faded away in high school, I kind of led into the weightlifting. I was like, okay, I'm going to get my scrawny ass a little bit more muscle on me and just put on some pounds. And so I began weightlifting like senior year of high school, and just been doing it ever since. And just training for all sorts of things. And, just the inspirations, like I said earlier, with the podcast and diving into those, that has been a massive one as well. And so, yeah, it's crazy, Belle. A lot of things in my life that has been inspiring and led me down this journey, but there's never one thing.
Thank you so much for sharing that story. I cannot imagine what it had to be like to have a family member with, such an insane heart condition, something that is so incredibly vital for our life. But to witness that as a young man and to realize so young, like, whoa, this hospital is feeding her what, giving her what, and she just had what done? This does not connect. That right there just proves that if we just open our eyes, that we can see we're not doing our 100% best. And like you said, before we start the podcast, we were chatting a bit and just discussing how, like, we are putting our money towards this government to put that money in areas that are not benefiting us. 40% of that money going towards fast food or just large processed food manufacturing, to what? To continue to get us addicted into this weird lifestyle of not consciously choosing, not being mindful. And to also see, on the other hand, the big pharma of that, and to see your sister from the Marines. One, wow, thank you so much. I can't imagine what it would be like to be a Marine. That's incredible. And to witness that firsthand, the addiction that comes with hard drugs that are supplied and sourced from our government and enforced as, like, yes, this will help you, this will make you feel better. Okay, well, yes, it can, but what's a different holistic alternative that we could do? Like, what kind of positive therapy can we get in here to expand this in a better way, to truly look at what's happened with that trauma and to not mask it, but to actually let it unravel and to feel that pain and to witness it so we can accept it, learn from it, and continue to move forward and teach with it.
Absolutely. If we just like change the terminology from healthcare to sick care, I think people would wake up a little bit more. Just a little twist right there.
Yes, it's kind of wild. Like Robert Fritz in his book, Path to Least Resistance. I've said it on the last couple podcasts, but he talks about a part where we're not even our healthcare. It's more preventative care versus healthcare. Why are we trying to prevent our health by giving these different vaccines or different pills or different solutions? Like, solutions are not everlasting. They're just for the moment. It's like a band-aid. You get the band-aid wet, it's gonna fall off in the pool, and then little Timmy's got that nasty band-aid on his skin. No one wants that. First, just like supplying the body with wholeness and solid knowledge and real nutrients that are going to help you recover and aid yourself. So I'm just loving that. And everyone out there, like, rest be assured, we are not at a dead end. Like, we all have a chance to rise up in this day and age and go, hey, I get to choose to make a better choice. And that's all with the rewiring of our brain. So being able to create a different response towards an experience. That's your neuroplasticity. And when we can rewire our brain to deal with stressful manners, as we're going to begin to get into, that's going to allow us to have the ability to not have, hypertension or high blood pressure. It's going to allow us to maintain a level of adrenaline and cortisol release that's not going to be detrimental to our nervous system. The parasympathetic and the what is it? Parasympathetic and
Sympathetic, yeah.
sympathetic.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hit
So
the nail
just
on the
our
head.
two systems. We want to not have that fight or flight mode be that first responder. Be like, oh, little Timmy just cut his foot on a nail. Flight or fight mode. Like, all right, like, yeah, it's important. We need to go and take care of that, but let's do it in a calm manner. Let's set up a practice. Like, oh, let's take 5 seconds before we get there. And so I would love to ask, like, how do you begin to gain your resilience against stress? And how do you try to practice your resilience? Wow, excuse me, against stress.
Wow, there's so many things. That's what's like the coolest part about this subject is, stress is a never-ending thing. It's interesting, kind of like diving on the physiology before we dive into like what we can do. It's something simple, a thought can create a stress response, for instance. Something simple as a thought. Let's say you go back in time a little bit and you're thinking last year of that one time you messed up at a party talking to a girl and you just sounded like an idiot, and you're just like, why did I respond that way? Whatever it may be. In that moment in time later on in the future, you're like, wow, I'm actually feeling my heart rate increase. I'm feeling my hands sweat. I'm noticing my eyes are dilating. Well, you can't really notice that unless you're looking in the mirror, but your eyes will dilate. There's a bunch of physiological responses that will happen due to that. And raises your blood pressure. And chronic stress like that, if you're constantly in this kind of state of a thought process, like thinking negative in a sense, of who you are, what you did, living in the past per se, it's going to chronically cause you to have higher sugar cravings. You're going to increase your or decrease your metabolic rates. You're going to begin to gain fat. You hear that all the time. When I'm stressed, I can't seem to lose the last bit of fat on my belly. It just causes all these things. It decreases your digestion. So if you're stressed and you're eating, you're actually not going to absorb and assimilate the nutrients you need to backlash that stress. Your
Mhm.
immune system will compromise. And that's the number one thing with corona. You're seeing it all over these social media platforms, and hearing it all the time in conversation, that fear manifests sickness. And it can't be any more true than that. It literally is, fear is stress. And if you're constantly in this sympathetic drive, as Belle alluded to, you're going to be in this decreased immune response. It's insane. Your repair, your recovery, your reproduction will actually decrease. And so if you're stressed, you won't have a libido. Your energy is just going to be lousy. It's like such negative things that comes with stress. But there's a beauty to stress, and it depends on how you're looking at it. And I know you mentioned you stress before, and that's more of like a hormetic stress. And so things I like to do to kind of counteract this response, of the hypothalamus communicating with the pituitary gland, communicating with your adrenals to release cortisol. One thing to counteract stuff like that is exercise and movement, really tapping back into the body. Because a lot of times when we're stressed, including myself, when I get stressed, I'm just like, there's something going wrong with the connection between my mind and body. My mind's like, you're not in this vessel right now. You're not in this physical form. And it's just like, that's where you feel anxiety. That's where you feel this like quivering sensation in your heart. And you're just like, I want to get out of my body, And one way to get back in your body, if you have anxiety, is exercise and movement. It's such a beautiful thing. And we all hear about yoga, weight training. I love to box when I'm just like feeling this kind of stress, this kind of like, miscommunication between my mind, body, spirit. I like to just punch a bag, and not in an angry way, but just something to just like just release. And it's like when you have anxiety, it's your body's way of telling you, I need to move. I need to move this out of me and put these cells to work. And so, even just like going on a simple walk outside, even if it's cold out, bundle up, enjoy the walk, put some music on, Walking is one of the most beautiful things. And I think when I notice when I'm sedentary all the time, I'm just noticing like this stagnant energy, and it just creates that stress even more. And numero uno, one of my favorite ways of movement is play. Just being a child, just playing around, cracking jokes, maybe even like wrestling your friend, something goofy like that, or just playing on the ground. Dancing's a great way to get that movement in. Like, it doesn't have to be, like a spiritual per se movement like yoga or a heavy weightlifting movement. It can be any kind of movement. And if you really enjoy that, whether it's tennis or it is yoga or it's weightlifting, do that thing, that will help you out and become more resilient. So I'd say that's like numero uno.
Yes, movement, power to the movement. That's one of the best things. And honestly, in the beginning of this quarantine, the one thing that we were really like, they wanted to impose was like, whatever that passion is that you have, let it run, like run with it, let it out, let it soar, and embrace it, embody it, make it you, and just feel it up. And nothing feels better than feeling your body and feeling how you feel. Like, oh, I feel sad. Okay, well, I can either sit in this chair, I can go on Instagram, I can look at everyone else doing all these other things, and you can get in this cycle of, oh God, it's just pitiful. And it kind of hurts to think about. It's heavy. It makes you feel dark and sluggish, and you just kind of get smaller and smaller. Like you can fit inside like a little desk box. But you could also say, I'm sad. Okay, what could I do? I could journal about it. I could talk to my dog about it. I could talk to my friend who's right here. Or I could, make a video about it. I could hear myself say these words and then go outside and then go get release. Change your environment to change your life.
Ooh,
you really got to put yourself in an environment you're going to thrive in versus just shrivel up like a little raisin. And I'm not sure about y'all, but I'm not a fan of raisins too much.
I don't like raisins either. What's the deal? Raisins suck, like all kinds. You got all kinds of raisins, the different colored ones and stuff. It's just, what's the deal?
Just a sad.
Why do you suck so bad? Be a date. Be a date. But big raisins, those things are the shit. I eat dates almost every day. Give me some like DeGlade Noir, Halawi dates. If you guys want a caramel and like Krispy Kreme baby, get a Halawi date. It literally tastes like a caramel had baby with Krispy Kreme. It's pretty crazy.
And it'll make you poop.
Oh yeah. That's one of my favorite times. That's a good form of movement right there. If you want to dive into that too, Belle.
Ooh,
being able to have consistent poop. We all poop, guys. Okay. Don't make it awkward. Okay. Almost pretty much every biological creature on this planet poops. It excretes some sort of waste that it consumes. And so, clinging on to that and understanding that we're pooping machines will make you happy. It will. It makes me happy, But instead of diving deep on the poop, how do you poop? You eat food. And so are we cool with going to this topic? This sounds fun.
Yes,
nutrition.
Please.
Yeah.
Keep
cool.
Sending.
All right. So one of my favorite ways to stay regular is by having a good amount of sugar. Just kidding. Having a lot of fiber, quite the opposite. Sugar is something that actually elicits that sympathetic response. And so it releases cortisol, it releases insulin. And so it can, like later on, it can release cortisol, but insulin right away. And so as we know, a lot of us correlate the word insulin with what? What do you think of when you hear the word insulin, Belle?
Diabetes.
The commercials. I have diabetes. Don't be that guy. Just don't. I'm sure he's a good guy, but just don't be that guy with that form of that disease, because it is so common. Over 40% of the US is diabetes and prediabetes. I think it's like 60% prediabetes and diabetes together, but 40% of the population is diabetic. And, like 10, 20% of those people don't even know it. And that could be me, it could be you. But one way to prevent that is by not only limiting sugar, because it's not just the culprit, but incorporating the healthy fats along with that. Because, when you incorporate those really rancid oils like canola, corn, soybean, those kind of guys are no bueno. Those are not fun. Those are not cool. What they're going to do is just like cause you to wreak havoc on your metabolism, going to give you that stress response. You're going to gain weight. You're going to feel lethargic and sad. And none of us want those things. So one easy way is to incorporate more of the healthy fats. And I love having a good dose of olive oil daily, extra virgin olive oil, some organic, sourced from one location. If you look on the back of the bottle, most of the time it'll mention like 5 to 6 different places that's from. And you want to kind of opt out of those guys and focus on the ones that are from one location, like Italy or something. Yeah, so getting some good quality olive oil, which is high in oleic acid, which can counteract that kind of, sympathetic response. And oils like, fish oil. We hear about omega-3s a lot. And, kind of going off of the bad fats we were talking about, soybean and, corn, safflower, sunflower. They sound all pretty and such, but they're not. They're not for your body. It's something that, they're loaded in these PUFAs or polyunsaturated fatty acids. And, polyunsaturated fats aren't bad. They're necessary for our life. They're high in omega-6s. They're great. But when you have in excess this kind of ratio that's commonly 15 to 20 to 1 from omega-6 to 3, it's just going to lead to a plethora of just like health consequences and stress and all that stuff and neurological issues and pretty much, disease. It's dis-ease, like uneasiness of the body. And so, omega-3s from fish oil is great. Coconut oil is a good one. Avocado oil is great. Those kind of things, focus on those and limit the sugar tied to that. Because if you have bad fats and a lot of sugar, you're going to have, what is it?
Diabetes.
Yep. And, that kind of goes back to the poop, that's the conversation we're on right now. And so incorporating a wide variety of fiber, like, soluble fiber in particular, is wonderful for our good gut bugs. And so acacia fiber, if you're looking to get a good supplement in, ACACIA, and that stuff is just wonderful. It's from the acacia tree. It's loaded in soluble fiber. I take that every day because it just keeps me regular, and it keeps my gut happy. And, we hear about the gut-brain axis all the time, and just how, like, if our gut's happy and balanced, it's more than likely our brain will be feeling good and stress-free. And so getting that gut loaded up with prebiotics, probiotics from, fermented foods, and just, really taking control of nutrition, because that's one thing I'm just obsessed about. That's what I'm getting my degree in right now, is finishing up is human nutrition degree. And, hopefully that relays down the road somewhere else. But I'm just obsessed with the idea that, every little morsel of something you put in your body creates a massive chain reaction, a domino effect throughout your body. And your cells will either help and they'll feel better, or they'll hinder and they'll feel like crap. And so I have this obsession about that, but I'm not saying you guys need to obsess about it. I'm saying, take it simplicity's sake for health and nutrition, and focusing on those good fats, the fiber, limiting processed sugar and processed foods, and your gut will be happy and you'll be happy.
And nothing's happier than a happy body, happy mind. It's kind of like the happy wife, happy life, but it's a little bit easier because like you get to control the outcome.
Oh, that's hilarious. Yeah.
I'm always bamboozled by the fact that chronic disease is quite literally the leading cause of our immune dysfunction, and anything with the autoimmune system that is degenerating. And it's kind of wicked to think about. Most of the population, I think it's the percentage is 80%, having over 2 chronic diseases that they may be aware about or unaware about. That is really crazy, because let's list them off. Like, we got obesity, we got, gosh, off the top of my head, we got cardiovascular disease, we have,
like hypertension,
hypertension,
dementia, and Alzheimer's connects a lot to stress and nutrition. And what other ones? What other sad diseases? What do you guys shout out in the public? Who's out there? I know you know more.
Yeah,
but the big ones are for sure diabetes and hypertension. A lot of people hear about that, and that blood pressure rising is a good connector to your stress as well, because if your heart has to work hard to get blood throughout your body, and your vessels aren't dilating like they should, it's just No one wants that. Everyone wants a healthy heart. Come on now. You'll
Exactly.
love more people if your heart's healthy.
Bigger
And
heart.
that's a cool thing to dive into, actually. Just the fact that, you know, taking care of your health is very, very selfish. But if you're selfish enough to take care of your health, you can then transcend that into selflessness, and you can begin to help others. And I'm a strong believer in that. And that's why I'm so obsessed with like improving and self development, because I feel like if I don't, then how the hell am I supposed to coach people or help other people and supply what I know if I'm not balanced and well and feeling like I'm taking care of myself? You know, it's just something that's on the back burner. Like I'd be lying to myself, and it would be a horrible way to live, to be honest. And so I really strongly think if you want to be a leader in the community, you have to be selfish, but in a good way that transcends into the selflessness.
And that is so positive in the fact that you're bringing people up with you, and you're not
Mm,
saying, oh, you have to be this certain way, or you have to look like this, or you need to dress with these clothes. Like, no, like drop the expectations and just fucking go do it. Like, at the end of the day, we can change our entire ancestral lineage of these diseases and, yeah, these diseases of the body if we just start with us. And starting with you is not a bad thing. I think if the one biggest positive factor you could take from COVID-19 would be self-care. Self-care has
mm,
blown up to the nine. And why? Because we're undergoing stress from the mainstream media, from the news, from this pandemic. And we are trying to show the world how valuable yoga is, a practice of stillness, not even yoga in itself. You don't have to go to a class. You don't need to go wear the spandex. Like, rewrite that story. Rewrite that you have to be a white girl doing handstands. Because I, as a white girl who do handstands, like, I hate that story. I want everything to like destroy that and welcome anyone of all shapes and sizes to appropriately explore their body and their minds and not limit themselves to, gosh, just staying in the same lane. Like, you got to explore the other lanes to go places you've never been. And if you want to see results you've never seen, what are you going to do?
eloquently said, you know. And if you're stressed, because that's the topic of today's, you know, discussion, if you're stressed, you won't be able to tap into that creativity. And, you know, you'll almost feel this resentment and jealousy towards others. And I myself have felt that a lot in my life when I'm feeling extremely, you know, in this disturbance. And, you know, like stress is good and it's bad, you know, and I keep kind of making it seem like stress is bad, but it's the basic definition of stress is just having a disturbance from your equilibrium, or kind of being out of whack from your homeostasis. And so, you know, if you can understand that, it's just like it's not a bad thing. And that's why, you know, hormetic stresses are so good for us. It's just like being able to, hormesis is basically what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And so, you know, that's kind of like what I said earlier with the exercise. Exercise is a good hormetic stress. You don't want to do it all the time, because if you did it 24 hours a day, you'd probably be dead, you know. But a good 30 minutes to an hour every day is so great for our long-term stress. You know, it's these short-term stressors that are so powerful. You know, what are some things you do, Belle, that are really good for your stress levels and being able to kind of tap into that?
Wow. I definitely, I have to wake up and I have to move my body. If there's a day that I wake up and I'm rushed, or there's a time limit and I either don't do myself justice by not waking up early enough and giving myself the time, I can feel like my whole day is trash. But it's just tapping in and going, okay, I can have this rush morning, but I need to stop at that stoplight and take 5 seconds of big, deep breaths. And then, even in that moment, although maybe I had a really tight morning, I'm able to come back to that balance, that equilibrium, which is so beautiful. And even when I do have the time of day, I make sure that I wake up and I drink a hot cup of water. Like,
Mm,
nothing is better in your body than waking up and getting warm liquid in your body. the cold shower is awesome. But my very
outside
first,
your body,
yeah, outside the body. But the first thing your inside body needs, this is going into like more of a Reiki yoga area, but think about it, you were just sleeping all night long, you're in this really cozy bed, hopefully that's what you get to experience, and you are warm and your body was just in this like very natural state, doing its thing, coming back together, doing all of its recovery, repairing, so that you can live your best life the next day. And then you wake up, you put 3 ice cubes in your glass of water and you chug that sucker. You just shocked your insides. You just put fish in, like electricity to a pond, and all the fish flew out and now they're dead. Like we have nothing. And that's how I feel about the body when I don't get to drink hot water, because the hot water is soothing. Your system's already in this natural state of warmth, and then your body does not have to do any extra work to rise the temperature of that liquid. It can just meet and be happy and do the hydration process and just be this beautiful, wonderful experience. And then you're still warm. And then you go into that cold shower, you shake yourself up, and it acts as that cup of coffee because you're really just, yeah, oh gosh, I'm doing it now. I'm practicing at the end of all my showers. I'm a real hot shower kind of girl, but I'm forcing myself to do like 2 to 5 minutes of coldness at the end. And when you can get past the "this is going to kill me" stage, and you start to breathe and you start to witness how much slower you can make yourself, how much calmer you can be, where you get to choose how conscious you are, moving, breathing, thinking, acting towards a situation. That is everything. And I think a combination of just, yeah, playful movements, flowing, not having an expectation in my mind for what I need to be doing, in the sense of like, this is enough or this is not enough. That's a really big helpful tactic that I do every day when I do movements. And then when I do go to the gym, it's all forces go, because when I live, I've declared that I don't want to live half-assed anymore. I can look back and say, okay, I have definitely given up halfway through a sport when I felt that stress come on, or when I felt that threshold not even being surpassed, but just like touched a little bit. And it's like, okay, well, we have that threshold for a reason. However, we can healthily go past that and overcome it so that we can further grow that suffering ability we have within us. Because I think everyone has this really bad rep in their minds with suffering, and suffering isn't always that bad. It's just, suffering and stress are kind of the same. So I'm going to talk about the body and specifics, but there's general adaptation syndrome, and it was developed by Hans Seeley, but he states we need stress to change, and that's kind of what we've been talking about. And so when you're doing the same things you've always done, you're going to get into this routine of never growing. And so think about your muscles. When you start to go to the gym, we have these different phases, and we can start with the alarm phase, and that can be when we go to the gym and we go super hard and we think it's going to be super beneficial, but really you're just destroying yourself completely. And then in the same day you're sore, and that's shock in your body because your muscles moved in a way of velocity and strength and whatever else that they're not used to. And so now they have to undergo this really intense repair. And then that can also lead to injury if you're not careful. But then if you do it right and you just ease into the workouts and you have fun with it and you witness, all right, I need to do split workouts where I'm doing biceps and legs on this day, and then I can do triceps and back on this day, and so forth and so on. You're slowly bringing these changes and these stressors into the muscles, onto the body, which can further help you come into this resistance phase where you're doing similar exercises for 3 to 4 weeks at a time so your body can adapt, and then you start to get into this plateau, but then you switch up the reps, you switch up the weights, you start to bring in some more power units, and this can allow you to continue to have fun, first of all, but also not exhaust yourself, because then you can also dial it back if you feel like, okay, I'm getting a little bored, or hey, I'm feeling like I'm fatigued emotionally. I have joint pain. I'm just not feeling the best. And this is going to be very obvious if you hit that exhaustion phase because you'll just be crabby. You'll be hurting. And so you have that ability to say, okay, I can work out the same way for 3 to 4 weeks, add some power movements, make it a little bit different, and then take a week off. Like go skiing, go ride a bike, go hiking, go run. Like change your movement, change your body in all these ways. And then you can cycle through your life with alignment in the sense that your stress will not be suffering and it'll be like you'll almost wire your brain to see it as fun. That's how I like to see it as.
Heck yeah, no, I totally, it's funny how you're saying like change the movement. I can totally relate to that right now because for most of my life, I've been in this kind of bodybuilding-esque workouts. Granted, they've been very intense and stuff, these kind of body groups. And, every day or 3 times a week, I would go in and it would be like chest day and shoulders. It'd be like, back day and biceps. And then it would be, leg day and that kind of stuff. Now I'm kind of transcending my workout routine to focus on training for Spartan races. And so kind of really tapping into this full body, intense, kind of rigorous, quick workout. And my body is responding in a totally different metabolic system. So it is very difficult, let me tell you, but it's being able to change that. And it's like, I'm actually recovering quicker than I was doing these hour-long bodybuilding workouts because it would just trash my body, intricately working all these movements. But in all reality, like being able to focus on like movements that aren't necessarily obsessing about, okay, this is, protraction of my scapula. I'm going to be, working on this contraction of this movement in my chest. Instead, I'm just like, okay, I'm pushing these weights. I'm moving around sprinting with a 30-pound vest. Like it's crazy what it's doing to, my ego. It's like destroying my ego. It's like, this is hard. You're seeing these people train this and it's tying that to stress. It's just like, it's stressful in my body, but I'm noticing like, it's like, when you switch that up in the long run, you're going to become such a resilient, badass human being, tapping into these different energy systems.
I love that. Please explain more about your Spartan race. Like, what are you doing differently? Like, literally just differently from what, like the strict weightlifting to what are you implementing now?
Yeah, I'd say, of course, I think you need to focus on strength training and being able to incorporate movements that will challenge your, weightlifting, how much weight you can pull week after week. It's good to increase the strength for this kind of thing. But, what I'm focusing on now is being able to really challenge my breath and being able to just feel, being able to slow my breath down and just be like, okay, you're not going to die. You feel your lungs collapsing in your chest. That's the kind of workouts I'm doing now. And, incorporating yoga on my rest days and just focusing on, mobilization of my body and, in particular, definitely doing more high intensity kind of interval training stuff and also tapping into more endurance running. So even today, I'm going to be going to a local park around here and just running hills and going through these trails and just kind of putting my music on and just zoning into that state. And it's going to be hard. It's going to be really difficult because I haven't done this kind of stuff in months, but it's just preparing for that. And I think it's just one of those things. It's stressful even thinking about doing it right now, but it's not the stress that's killing me. It's my reaction to it. So it depends on how you look at it. And so,
Nice way to look at it with like, okay, this is later on, but you get to feel good about it. You get to feel empowered because of that. I have a very similar story with that, where just bodybuilding since, my senior year, just loved it. And I still love it. I still do it. And when I moved to Alaska, I actually switched to CrossFit. Really just like, I just cold cut turkey, cut out the bodybuilding, and I went straight into the CrossFit. And after the first day, I was, oh my word, this is new. I am kind of dying. But it was so much fun because I was learning how my body needed to move in different ways. And that, like, when I was doing a push up, my shoulders were going lower than my elbows. Well, that's putting lots of stress on my shoulders that don't need to be there. And so having coaching as well, that was actually beneficial, and therefore my there for my safety was everything and more, and being able to witness my body and my metabolism change in the sense of, all right, I'm doing these workouts that are a little bit more intense in my cardiovascular world, cardiorespiratory, I mean, and versus just like, all right, kind of lifting and then stagnant and then lifting and just getting into like my ATP PC stage and whatnot. Like those energy systems are good, but I kind of like the good intensity burst. That was just new to me. So getting different muscle fibers working as well was just incredible. And I'm still loving it. I was able to start to go back to my CrossFit gym. So it has been a whirlwind. And I'm excited to see how that also impacts this new elimination diet I'm on, because I am only going to be eating fruits and vegetables and fish for the next couple weeks. So I will have to monitor that as I go, but it's just exciting. Like we should get excited about challenging our physical performance in our internal bodies and what we're doing with ourselves.
I love hearing that you're doing that, just being able to kind of eliminate all these different processed foods that we're always bombarded with, like wheat. We're hearing about wheat, gluten, and it's even more than gluten. It's the glyphosate that's sprayed on all these products and snacks and crackers and breads and all pastas and all that stuff. But, it's all these things you could just begin to kind of taper off eventually. And like you said, going cold turkey, even with that workout routine, like it's hard. It is hard for any human being to do that. And some of us can do it, we can overcome it. And I've done it before. I'm sure you have, listening to this, and, Belle's done it. She's even talked about it, but for most people, most individuals, just think of a typical American right now. It's not easy to go cold turkey with anything: nutrition, fitness, spirituality, being able to have a meditation practice, being able to have journaling every day and transcribing your thoughts on paper and reading those thoughts and understanding, wow, I actually did that. Like that's not easy just to start or, not do for anything. And so I'm a big believer in just like, okay, if it's hard to have water in the morning, 32 ounces, let's just start off with 16 ounces. It's just like eventually add these kind of things that can help out with our stress levels. And I love how you were able to kind of like tap into this elimination diet. What kind of inspired you to start that off in the first place?
Honestly, so my kind of backstory with it all is I've been dealing with just like womanly productive issues since May. So I've been having BV, I've been having UTIs, I've been having yeast infections, consistently since May. And it's been really annoying. And so in September, I've been keeping track of this. And September, I noticed that my kidneys were starting to feel very inflamed, just like very tender. And then coming into the now. So they would go in and out of this inflammation. And pretty healthy person, always being aware, but have been increasing soy and dairy sometimes, or then taking away, and then increasing beef sometimes and taking it away. And being in a new place, of course, with all those stressors, I've just been really intrigued to see, okay, what is the underlying issue and how can I really get to the bottom of this? Because although like I've had to go to these doctors and get this medicine, it's destroying me because I don't want to rely on this medicine for it. I want to be able to fill my body with foods that will help me get out of this state of inflammation. And so that's the biggest thing, is just seeing like where the issue lies. And my hunch right now is that it's the gluten and some soy that I've been taking in a little bit more than usual. And so I'm really excited about it. It's gonna be tough, but I'm really excited because I have such an interest and pull towards the like a natural way of eating anyway. So it'll be fun. And I think if anyone out there needs to or is interested in trying a diet that is like this, like it's not going to be easy. And I'm talking pretty lighthearted about it, but that's kind of because I've put myself through enough suffering up to this point where this doesn't seem like a big deal. And I can go into it with a smile versus a cringe of, oh, I don't get to eat my Pringles at dinner tonight. Like that's not really crossing my mind. Yeah. So anyone out there who is trying to make changes that are going to help you level out your stress, take it with a grain of salt and give yourself slack. And don't be so damn critical on how good or how bad you did in a day. Because honestly, like calories don't matter. Like it's how you feel. It's how you feel at the end of the day. And if you feel really good, then you should give yourself a hug for that.
It's cool. That reminded me of the quote, "Don't make yourself sick in attempts to be healthy." It's so interesting. Like take it with a grain of salt, not with a grain of salt lamp, because we don't need to make it bigger than it actually is. And it's all about mindset with these things. And I love how you're just in that mindset. You're like, you're seeing yourself. You're like, I am going to dread this in the moment, but right now, I'm excited for it. You're amping yourself up.
Mhm.
I'm sure you've like meditated on it and all those things. It's just like it is meant to be, and overcoming that challenging and that challenge that you forced yourself to go through. It's not like life in this external world and this is exogenous form came into you and forced you to be in that position. You forced yourself. It started with that mindset. You're like, I'm doing this, I'm fasting today. I'm doing this elimination diet and I'm going to, even back then, I'm going to switch to CrossFit. It's like all these things we can do on a daily basis. Like, just little things like just waking up. What is the first thing you're going to do? Are you going to turn over, pick up your phone and start going on this stimulating blue light device that can just cause you to think all these spiraling thoughts that aren't necessarily attaching to your real reality in your environment, in your room, your comfortable room? Or are you going to decide to leave it on airplane mode or leave it on do not disturb? And are you going to wake up for the first 30 minutes there? You're just going to lay in bed and just look up at the ceiling and kind of think like, who am I? What is my purpose today? What is my goal? What do I want to do to change the world and myself? Asking those kind of questions are so powerful. And it's cool because Joe Dispenza, Joe Dispenza, right, Belle?
I
I
love
think we
it.
talked a little bit about him. Yeah, he's a G. He's just like got this wizardly power. So just able to eloquently say everything and to communicate the metaphysical into the physical world. And he talked about how like the first beginning stages of falling asleep and the last beginning stages or the beginning stages of waking up, you tap into this theta frequency. And so the first like 7 years of our life we're in this theta wave frequency, and that's just like basically you're just remembering so much. You're an absorbent sponge of everything in your environment and your thoughts and what's coming in, all the stimuli. And so he's big on like right when you wake up, immediately go to journaling, or right when you wake up, try to think of something positive, or right when you're kind of waking up in that haziness stage or going to bed in that haziness stage, put on headphones and put on kind of like affirmation saying stuff that's like, I am bold, I am courageous, I am like all these things. And I recently started doing that. I'm curious long term what that's actually going to do to my brain and how
Mhm.
I'm thinking about myself and the world around me. Because golly, sleep is everything, it's everything. And like shit, we sleep like what, a third of our life, a fourth of our life. Like, holy hell, if it's that long, it has to be important, right?
Mhm.
Like we all want to cut the cord and make it shorter, but you can't do it. You're going to live a miserable life in a shorter life. So in the grand scheme of things, prioritizing that 7 to 9 hours, or if you're genetically lucky, you can do that 6 hour thing. But man, sleep, it's like there's days like I was talking to you about Saturday night, how I partied a little too hard and went to bed at like 4 a.m., woke up, I had maybe 6 hours of sleep, but it wasn't even real sleep because I had a little bit of drink and I don't do that stuff very often. And other substances I don't tap into very much. And you wake up and you're in this haziness all day long, your ambitions faded. And, it just makes me appreciate how good I feel like in this moment now where I've slept good last night and I'm kind of bounced back. And it makes me appreciate that having those moments like where you're not in that balanced and harmonized state. It makes you appreciate the states you are harmonized. And so I'm sure all you people out there can relate to that. It is some crazy shizzle.
Absolutely. Oh my goodness. With the whole sleep thing, like our dreams, I could go on and on about our
Ooh,
dream
baby.
world and how exactly whatever our internal stressors are, or those internal issues, or whatever we're trying to push down and suppress, Like our dreams are gonna be like, hey, you know that thing? You see that? That's me. I'm here. I'm still here. This is an issue. Like, let's talk about it. Let's bring this up. And I could go
Mhm.
on about dreams for a long time because I've actually been having a lot of dreams that have been showing me where I've been limiting in my own world. And to like bounce on your positive affirmation trial and error deal, I have been doing that since pretty religiously since last, gosh, July. And it has changed a lot of my world. I unconsciously or I subconsciously consciously, subconsciously wake up with a smile on my face. Kind of no matter what, I'm typically smiling. My first thoughts are, wow, I love this day, or like, wow, I feel really good, or this bed is super warm. Like it's always a positive thought. It's never, ugh, the alarm, or ugh, I have to get out of bed, or ugh, I have this to do. Like that's not a thing in my world anymore. And that's not me trying to boast. That's me trying to say, like, anyone can do this. Anyone can set a practice and dedicate time. And if you can dedicate and devote time to yourself to make these changes, it's going to trickle into every other area of your life. It's like a pebble being dropped into a lake. You're going to ripple effect all over the place. And who knows, every opportunity with each ripple as it goes out and out and out, it's going to touch somebody. And that is the
Mhm.
whole purpose of bringing up these conversations, because to make these changes real, you have to talk about them. And so I love talking about Joe Dispenza, our health, the different systems of the body, because the more we can talk about it, the more synapse we're going to create in our brains. And that's only going to reiterate how we can further rewire that and have a different chemistry of our bodies and to become into our full potential. And so, man, I just like these conversations make my soul on fire, and I cannot be any more grateful for them. And I think that we kind of hit this really well on the head, all in all. So
Mhm.
I would love for you to say any last words you have, any last bits of advice, and then please brag about yourself so everyone can know where to find you, how to find you, and what you're doing in your life.
Oh my God, I love to fulfill my ego. It feels so good. You guys all need to in conversations, except, don't lead the conversation. Like be able to kind of bounce back and forth like Belle and I. I'd say, a good little thing, a little take home message would be simplicity. I really am big on simplicity, and we're told constantly in the fitness world and the nutrition world and, not as much in the meditation world because they want you to be simple, but, just being able to simplify your life makes things so much easier. If you have less clutter in your house, your environment, kind of like you said earlier, Belle, being able to make your environment a part of who you are and what you want to become, because it is an extension of yourself. So, cleaning up your house, organizing thing is key. Don't pick up the clothes from your floor, make your bed every morning. That's the first thing you can get done to feel accomplished. Um, and, going through clothes that you don't wear. I just recently did this actually, and it felt wonderful. I'm like going through polo jackets I wore in high school and stuff that are actually worth a lot of money. And they've been sitting, carrying dust in my closet for so long. And I'm like, I could just sell this on Facebook Marketplace for $30. And within, 24 hours, someone hit me up and bought it. And it's just those things that, the less kind of tangible objects and like clothes and things you have overall, the less you have to worry about. And so I'm kind of in this phase right now where I'm just simplifying everything, things I own, relationships, really prioritizing the people in my life that actually care about me and I care about them, like keeping those people in my life and keeping that, and, just simplifying your exercise routine. It doesn't have to be this complex, like I got to do these 20 movements, learn this new thing. Start off small. And like food, simplifying food, like the dishes you make and all the cuisines and stuff. I'm literally just using herbs and spices that I love that just somehow combine and create this mouthgasm of food. And like just not worrying about all these, things with, simplifying the food when it comes to processed food. You see the long list of words you cannot even pronounce because there's some alien words. Don't eat that food, damn it. Eat some like dates with some chocolate. That's two ingredients right there, cacao and dates, and it's crack. It's good. like stuff like that.
Mhm.
Minimizing the supplements you have. Like I used to be obsessed about biohacking, eat all these supplements, but really stick to the basics: omega-3s, magnesium, B vitamins, and some D3 or something, stuff that your body, the nutrients it actually craves. So overall, I'd say, simplifying life will make life that much easier and less stressful. And I think that's a good little take home message right there.
That is the best take home message. I'm taking that home because that's just a good reminder. Be simple, non attachment. Just practice what you can preach. And
Have you seen, speaking of simple, have you actually, what is the movie with Ben Still, Tropic Thunder? Do you know Tropic Thunder?
I do.
It's so vulgar and bad, but it's also hilarious. There's this part of the movie, Simple Jack. Don't be Simple Jack where like that character, but just, be a simple person. Be a simple person. Not simple-minded, be open-minded, but
Yeah. Don't acquire too much.
Yeah, exactly. Besides knowledge. Knowledge is only power if you actually utilize it,
Yes.
like,
And
apply
doesn't
it in
fill
your
your
life.
soul. Apply it
Hell yeah.
always.
Hell yeah. Well, I had a blast, Belle. I had a freaking blast.
Thank you, because I've had a blast too. This has been such a freaking wholesome conversation, and I've really loved it. Where can people find you?
Oh yeah. Well, most of the time I'm pretty active on Instagram. You can find me at cvc.wellness. And there's a link to my website. There's a link to my blogs. I'm a huge blogger. I love all things health, holistic health. Reach out to me, just say like, oh, I heard you with Belle, in this wonderful conversation. And we can just like start a conversation. And, I'm big on voice memos, none of this mumbo jumbo texting where it's, conditioning us to think that's communication. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. Real communication starts with our mouth. And, that is the part where I really enjoy these voice memos in this day and age, having the opportunity to do that. But yeah, cvc.wellness on Instagram. You'll find me there. It'll connect to my Facebook and stuff too. You'll find the worldwide web and cyberspace of me on there. So
How exciting. Yay. Then everyone gets to see why I'm so obsessed with diving into your materials. Because you guys, the blogs are fire. The conversations are fire. And it's tribal connection. It is seeing someone eye to eye and seeing their value and being like, wow, this is actual knowledge I can bring into my life. I can practically use this as a tool. First, just, the Instagram mumbo jumbo, that's a little deteriorating on the brain and on the ego in a sad way. So,
wait, how does it feel to have your last name be Well Woman or Wellman?
ooh, well, man. See,
Isn't that funny how you're kind of embodying this like, like this wellness lifestyle, and it's so cool. That's like the universe saying your last name's gonna be Wellman. It's like being a dentist and your last name's White. I'm Dr. White. It's cool. It's like you're meant to be like.
Yeah, you're on your path. And I never realized that. So it's really funny that you say that. I used to be like so avoidant of my last name. And now I'm like, oh my God, I am a well man. That was hilarious. Full circle hilarious. God. Well, you know what, guys? Thank you so much for listening in. I will be putting Christian's information in the show notes. And please, if you haven't, take some time today for yourself and go in the mirror. Look at yourself and go, I love you. You're doing the best you can. And today's a great day. And if there's anything that you were able to take away from today's podcast, please reach out to one of us, write a review, give us them 5 stars, and maybe in the future you'll be lucky enough to hear Christian's voice again. I hope so. This was amazing.
Ooh la la, yeah.
Yes. And yeah, we'll see you guys next time. So love you. Peace.
Peace, love, prosperity, guys.